disconnected. I was muted anyway. You didn't hear any of that. I was going to be playing games with my friend, but because I was playing like a little bit of raft, I'm like, oh, I'll set up the raft, like, because I wanted to change how it looked. Unfortunately, with doing that, it does mess up if people try and join, and so I've like messed up our save that we worked really hard on, and then we decided to try and play Ark, and it just wasn't downloading at all, and it kept crashing for them, and it completely crashed their computer. So we'll try again tomorrow. All right, let me bring up, what was it called? Lewis Carroll's Alice. That's it. Here we go. I don't know if this will come up. Doesn't look like it's coming up. Let's have a look. Did I select it? I did. Uh, okay, it is not showing. I'll do window. This. There we go. Okay. I just need to move it like that, and then I'll transition again. Hopefully that should be working now.
The White Rabbit. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Alice, and she had a very curious dream. Would you like to hear what it was that she dreamed about? Well, this is the first thing that happened. A white rabbit came running by in a great hurry, and just as it passed Alice, it stopped and took its watch out of its pocket. Wasn't that a funny thing? Did you ever see a rabbit that had a watch and a pocket to put it in? Of course, when a rabbit has a watch, it must have a pocket to put it in. It would never do to carry it about in its mouth, and it wants its hands sometimes to run about with. Hasn't it got pretty pink eyes? I think all white rabbits have pink eyes, and pink ears, and a nice brown coat, and you can just see its red pocket handkerchief peeping out of its coat pocket. And what with its blue necktie and its yellow waistcoat, it really is very nicely dressed. Oh dear, said the rabbit. I shall be too late. What would it be too late for, I wonder? Well, you see, it had to go and visit the Duchess. You'll see a picture of the Duchess soon, sitting in her kitchen. And the Duchess was a very cross old lady, and the rabbit knew she'd be very angry indeed if he kept her waiting. So the poor thing was as frightened as frightened could be. Don't you see how he's trembling? Because he thought the Duchess would have his head cut off for a punishment. That was what the Queen of Hearts used to do when she was angry with people. You'll see a picture of her soon. At least she used to order their heads to be cut off, and she always thought it was done. though they never really did it. And so, when the white rabbit ran away, Alice wanted to see what would happen to it. So she ran after it, and she ran, and she ran, till she tumbled right down the rabbit hole. And then she had a very long fall indeed, down and down and down, till she began to wonder if she was going right through the world so as to come out on the other side. It was just like a very deep well, only there was no water in it. If anybody really had such a fall as that, it would kill them most likely. But you know, it doesn't hurt a bit to fall in a dream, because all the time you think you're falling, you really are lying somewhere safe and sound and fast asleep. However, this terrible fall came to an end at last, and down came Alice on a heap of sticks and dry leaves. But she wasn't a bit hurt, and up she jumped and ran after the rabbit again. And
I
so
wonder how
that was the beginning of Alice's curious dream.
long
The
I
next
can
time
do
you
this
see a
for.
white rabbit, try and fancy you're going to have a curious dream, just like dear little Alice.
Will it eventually beat me out if I keep doing this? I want to see how many points I can get. It really is not booting me out. Okay.
How Alice Grew Tall. And she went around the hall and tried if she could unlock any of the doors with it. So she unlocked the tiny little door, and she stooped down and looked through it. And what do you think she saw? Oh, such a beautiful garden! And she did so long to go into it, but the door was far too small. She couldn't squeeze herself through any more than you could squeeze yourself into a mouse hole. So
Oh,
poor
jump.
little Alice locked up the door and took the key back to the table again. Little Alice found, so she tasted it, and
Oh.
it was very nice. So she set to work and drank it up. And then such a curious thing happened to her. You'll never guess what it was, so I shall. When she got there, the door was locked, and the key was on the top of the table. She couldn't reach it. And then, what do you think happened to
Oh,
her? She
oh,
grew and she grew and she grew, taller than she was before, taller than any child, taller than any grown up person, taller and taller and taller. Just look at the picture and you'll see how tall she got. Which would you have liked the best, do you think? To be a little tiny Alice, no larger than a kitten, or a great tall Alice with your head always knocking against the ceiling? The Pool of Tears.
okay.
Perhaps you think Alice must have been very much pleased when she had eaten the little cake to find herself growing so tremendously tall. But what good was it to get the door open when she couldn't get through? She was worse off than ever, poor thing. No wonder
Oh,
the poor tall child cried as if her heart would break. So she cried and she cried, and her tears ran down the middle of the hall like a deep river.
uh,
And very soon there was quite a large pool of tears reaching halfway down the hall. And there she might have stayed till this very day, if the White Rabbit hadn't happened to come through the hall on his way to visit the Duchess. He was dressed up as grand could be, and he had a pair of white kid gloves in one hand and a little fan in the other hand, and he kept on muttering to himself, "Oh, the Duchess, the Duchess! Oh, won't she be savage if I've kept her waiting?" But he didn't see Alice, you know. So when she began to say, "If you please, sir," her voice seemed to come from the top of the hall because her head was so high up. And the rabbit was dreadfully frightened, and he dropped the gloves and the fan and ran away as hard as he could go. Then a very curious thing indeed happened. Alice took up the fan and began to fan herself with it.
mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, she got quite small again, and all in a minute she was just about the size of a mouse. Now look at the picture, and you'll soon guess what happened next.
Is that Lewis
It
Carroll
looks
in the
just like
boat?
the sea, doesn't it? But it really is the Pool of Tears, all made of Alice's tears, you know. And Alice has tumbled into the pool, and the mouse has tumbled in, and there they are, swimming about together. Doesn't Alice look pretty as she swims across the picture? You can just see her blue stockings far away under the water. But why is the mouse swimming away from Alice in such a hurry? Well, the reason is that Alice began talking about cats and dogs, and a
Mm-hmm.
mouse always hates
Hated
talking about
cats.
cats and dogs.
No,
Suppose
it's a
you
cat.
were swimming about in a pool of your own tears, and suppose somebody began talking to you about lesson books and bottles of medicine. Wouldn't you swim away as hard as you could go? The Caucus Race. When Alice and the mouse had got out of the pool of tears, of course they were very wet, and so were a lot of other curious creatures that had tumbled in as well. There was a dodo, and a duck, and a lory, and an eaglet, and several others. Well, and so they didn't know how in the world they were going to get dry again. But the dodo, who was a very wise bird, told them the right
Mm-hmm.
way was to have a caucus race. And what do you think that was? You don't know? Well, you are an ignorant child. Now be very attentive, and I'll soon cure you of your ignorance. First, you must have a race course. It ought to be a sort of circle, but it doesn't much matter what shape it is, so long as it goes a good way around and joins on to itself again. Then you must put all the racers on the course here and there. Doesn't matter where, so long as you don't crowd them too much together. Then you needn't say 1, 2, 3 and away, but let them all set off running just when they like and leave off just when they like. So all these creatures, Alice and all, went on running round and round till they were all quite dry again. And then the dodo said, "Everybody won, and everybody must have prizes." Of course, Alice had to give them their prizes, and she had nothing to give them but a few comfits she happened to have in her pocket. And there was just one apiece all around. and there was no prize for Alice. So what do you think they did? Alice had nothing left but her thimble. Now look at the picture and you'll see what happened. "Hand it over here," said the dodo. Then the dodo took the thimble and handed it back to Alice and said, "We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble." And then all the other creatures cheered. Wasn't that a curious sort of present to give her? Suppose they wanted to give you a birthday present. Would you rather they should go to your toy cupboard and pick out your nicest doll and say, "Here, my love, here's a lovely birthday present for you"? Or would you rather them to give you something new, something that didn't belong to you before? Bill the Lizard.
Oh, Bill, poor Bill.
Now I'm going to tell you about Alice's adventures in the White Rabbit's house. Do you remember how the rabbit dropped his gloves and his fan when he was so frightened at hearing Alice's voice that seemed to come down from the sky? Well, of course he couldn't go to visit the Duchess without his gloves and his fan, so after a bit he came back again to look for them. By this time the dodo and all the other curious creatures had gone away, and Alice was wandering about all alone. So what do you think he did? It was lucky she found the door open, for if she had had to ring, I suppose the real Mary
Oh my
Ann
God.
would have come to open the door. But Alice happened to have one of her feet in the fireplace, so when she heard Bill coming down the chimney, she just gave a little tiny kick. And away went Bill, flying up into the sky. Poor little Bill. Don't you pity him very much? How frightened he must have been. The dear little puppy. Well, it doesn't look like such a very little puppy, does it? But then, you see, Alice had grown very small indeed. And that's what makes the puppy look so large. When Alice had eaten one of those little magic cakes that she found in the White Rabbit's house, it made her get quite small directly so that she could get through the door, or else she could never have got out of the house again. Wouldn't that have been a pity? Because then she wouldn't have dreamed all the other curious things that we're going to read about. So it really was a little puppy, you see, and isn't it a little pet? And look at the way it's barking at the little stick that Alice is holding out for it. You can see she was a little afraid of it all the time because she's got behind that great thistle for fear it should run over her. That would have been just about as bad for her as it would be for you to be run over by a wagon and 4 horses. Have you got a little pet puppy at your home?
No.
If you have, I hope you are always kind to it and give it nice things to eat. Once upon a time, I knew some little children about as big as you, and they had a little pet dog of their own, and it was called Dash. And this is what they told me about its birthday treat. Do you know, one day we remembered it was Dash's birthday that day, so we said, let's give Dash a nice birthday treat, like what we have on our birthdays.
Oh,
so
no.
we thought and we thought. Now, what is
Uh-oh.
it we like best of all on our birthdays?
Uh-oh.
And we thought
They
and
give
we
it
thought,
chocolate.
and at last we all called out together. Why, it's oatmeal porridge, of course.
Oh.
So, of course, we thought Dash would be quite sure to like it very much, too. So we went to the cook and we got her to make a saucerful of nice oatmeal porridge. And then we called Dash into the house and we said, "Now, Dash, you're going to have your birthday treat." We expected Dash would jump for joy, but it didn't, one bit. So we put the saucer down before it and we said, "Now, Dash, don't be greedy. Eat it nicely like a good dog." So Dash just tasted it with the tip of his tongue, and then it made, oh, such a horrid face. And then, do you know, it did hate it so. It wouldn't eat a bit more of it. So we had to put it all down its throat with a spoon.
What?
I wonder if Alice will give this little puppy some porridge. I don't think she can, because she hasn't got any with her. I can't see any saucer in the picture.
What?
The Blue Caterpillar. Would you like to know what happened to Alice after she had got away from the puppy? It was far too large an animal, you know, for her to play with. I don't suppose you would much enjoy playing with a young hippopotamus, would you? You would always be expecting to be crushed as flat as a pancake under its great heavy feet. So Alice was very glad to run away while it wasn't looking. Well, she wandered up and down, and she didn't know what in the world to do to make herself grow up to the right size again. Of course, she knew that she had to eat.
Oh, whoops. Oh, this has not aged well. Yep,
The
skipping that.
pig baby. Would you like to hear about Alice's visit? Now,
No.
if you look at the picture, you'll see exactly what Alice saw when she got inside. The door led right into the kitchen, you see, so she wandered away through the wood carrying the ugly little thing with her. Well, and so the baby kept grunting. The Cheshire Cat. All alone, all alone. Poor Alice. No baby, not even a pig to keep her company. And as she went along, there was the cat again. And she told it she didn't like it coming and going, so... The Mad Tea Party. This is the Mad Tea Party. You see, Alice had left the Cheshire Cat and had gone off to see the March Hare and the Hatter, as the Dormouse didn't say much. You see, it was fast asleep generally, and it only just woke up for a moment now and then. As long as it was asleep, it was very useful to the March Hare and the Hatter because it had a nice, round, soft head. The Hatter used to carry about hats to sell, and even the one that he's got on his head is meant to be sold. You see, it's got its price marked on it. A 10 and a 6. That means 10 shillings and 6 pence. Wasn't that a funny way of selling hats? And hasn't he got a beautiful necktie on? Such a lovely yellow tie with large red spots. He has just got up to say to Alice, "Your hair wants cutting." That was a rude thing to say, wasn't it? And do you think her hair does want cutting? I think it's very pretty length, just the right length.
You're not
The
allowed musicals, are
Queen's
you?
Garden. This is a little bit of the beautiful... The Queen has come, and isn't she angry? Oh, my poor little Alice.
Jesus.
The Queen came and took Alice away to see the Griffin
Is she
and Mock
flossing?
Turtle. Who stole the tarts?
Oh my god.
Did you ever hear how the Queen of Hearts made some tarts? And can you tell me what became of them? Why, of course I can. Doesn't the song tell all about it? The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away. Well, yes, the song says so, but it would never do to punish the poor knave just because there was a song about him. They had to take him prisoner and put chains on his wrists and bring him before the King of Hearts so that there might be a regular trial. The king is very grand, isn't he? But he doesn't look very happy. I think that big crown on the top of his wig must be very heavy and uncomfortable. But he had to wear them both, you see, so that people might know he was a judge and a king. And doesn't the Queen look cross? She can see the dish of tarts on the table that she had taken such trouble to make. And she could see the bad knave. Do you see the chains hanging from his wrists? That stole them away from her, so I don't think it's any wonder if she does feel a little cross. The White Rabbit is standing near the king reading out the song to tell everybody what a bad knave he is, and the jury have to settle whether he's guilty or not guilty. Now I'll tell you about the accident that happened to Alice. You see, she was sitting close by the jury box, and she was called as a witness. But Alice hadn't seen the Queen make the tarts, and she hadn't seen the knave take the tarts. And in fact, she didn't know anything about it. So why in the world they wanted her to be a witness, I'm sure I can't tell you. Anyhow, they
We've skipped
did want her,
most of this game.
and the White Rabbit
By
blew his
accident.
big trumpet and shouted out, "Alice!" And so Alice jumped up in a great hurry, and then...
Okay.
Why, her skirt caught against the jury box and tipped it over, and all the poor
You're all
little
good.
jurors came tumbling out of it.
Uh-oh.
Let's try if we can make out all the 12. You know there ought to be 12 to make up a jury. I see the frog and the dormouse and the rat and the ferret and the hedgehog and the
Oh my god, is he
lizard
really
and the
gonna list them all?
bantam-cock and the mole and the duck and the squirrel and the screaming bird with a long beak. But that only makes 11. We must find one more creature. Oh, do you see a little white head? Oh, that makes up 12. Mr. Tenniel says the screaming bird is a storkling. Of course you know what that is. And the little white head is a mouseling. Isn't it a little darling? Alice picked them all up again very carefully, and I hope they weren't much hurt.
Okay. I can't control anything, so I don't know what I'm meant to do. Resume?
Who stole the tarts? Did you ever hear how the Queen of Hearts made some tarts?
Oh god.
And can you tell me what became of them?
Oh no.
Why, of course I can.
He's
Doesn't the
starting
song
again.
tell all about it?
No.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts all on a summer day. The
Yep.
Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Oh my god.
Well, yes, the song says so, but it would never do to punish the poor knave just because there was a song about him. They had to take
Are we
him
stuck
prisoner
here?
and put chains on his wrists and bring him before the King of Hearts so that there might be a regular trial. The king is very grand, isn't he? But
No.
he doesn't look very happy. I think that big crown on the top of his wig must be very heavy and uncomfortable. But he had to wear them both, you see, so that people might know he was a judge and a king. And doesn't the queen look cross?
Please.
She can see the dish of tarts on the
Beg
table that
of
she
you.
had taken
Skip.
such trouble to make. And she could see the bad knave. Do you see the chains hanging from his wrists? That stole them away from her. So I don't think it's any wonder if she does feel a little cross. The White Rabbit is standing near the king, reading out the song to tell everybody what a bad knave he is, and the jury have to settle whether he's guilty or not guilty. Now I'll tell you about the accident that happened to Alice. You see, she was sitting close by the jury box,
Hi, Natty.
and she was called as a witness. But Alice hadn't seen the queen make the tarts, and she hadn't
We
seen
can't
the
skip
knave
this. It's just
take the
replaying it.
tarts. And in fact, she didn't know anything about it. So why in the world they wanted her to be a witness, I'm sure I can't tell you. Anyhow, they did want her, and the White Rabbit blew his big trumpet and shouted out, "Alice!" And so Alice jumped up in a great hurry, and then, why, her skirt caught against the jury box and tipped it over, and all the poor little jurors came tumbling out of it. Let's try if we can make out all the 12.
It
You
won't
know there
let me
ought to be
skip.
12 to make up a jury. I see the frog and the dormouse and the rat and the ferret and the hedgehog and the lizard and the bantam-cock and the mole and the duck and the squirrel and the screaming bird with a long beak. But that only makes 11. We must find one more creature. Oh, do you see a little white head? Oh,
Oh,
that
my
makes
lord.
up 12. Mr. Tenniel says the screaming bird is a storkling. Of course you know what that is. And the little white head is a mouseling. Isn't it a little darling? Alice picked them all up again very carefully, and I hope they weren't much hurt.
It won't let me progress. We're stuck here.
Who stole
Oh my
the
god,
tart?
no. Please. Alright. Alright, we'll quit in that one. My god. Alright, there was one other Alice game. Oh. I just need to find it. Here we are, Alice Running Adventures. So this does not have a review at all. So I'm a little scared. Just need to grab my controller. Let's have a look. Alice Adventures. Oh, okay. What? Oh. Oh. Wait, why does this have... Why, what? Oh my god. Oh no. It had mobile controls. Oh my lord. This is not good. I'm a little concerned. Oh god, Nutty. Excuse me? Why didn't I get 3 stars? There's a special cake somewhere. Is it back here? I've no clue. There it is. I don't know what the jump button is. Space on my keyboard, not on my controller, guys. This is horrible. How many levels are there? Okay, there's like a lot. This is so stupid. Excuse me? I don't know how to run. Well, that's attacking. Boom. Wait, where's the special cake? My god. Hold on. Where's the special one? Oh my god. I don't know why Alice looks so sad. Nati, I blame you for finding this. Okay. I think that's enough of this game. I can't leave. It won't let me leave. Oh my lord. Please let me leave. Oh, thank God. Oh, here we go. Now, this actually looks like a promising one. I think this is the first one. Yes? Yeah. Alright, I might end it here, since those two games were awful, horrible. Let's raid. Oh, no one's streaming. What? Alright, I'll see you all Thursday.